All right. Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Christmas day. Darren Smith, along with Steve Walls, like to welcome you to the pregame cheat sheet. We're live from Arrowhead Stadium inside the press box where it's nice and warm, dry as well. Steve, Merry Christmas to you and the family.
Same to you.
Also, make sure we thank Merry Christmas to our mothers. So, I got a text this morning that says, so we better wish you all, want to wish you all a Merry Christmas as well. Steve, your initial thoughts on this game? Kansas City Chiefs, Las Vegas Raiders. Last time these two teams played in Vegas, Chiefs were down by 14, ended up winning by 14, 31-17. Chiefs 10.5-point favorites. Your initial thoughts on this game today?
I mean, to be honest, this is a pretty big game. I mean, for both teams. I mean, the Raiders are outside kind of looking in. Yeah. Win here would keep them alive, of course. The Chiefs would, if they win, of course, they would win the AFC West for the eighth consecutive time. Yeah. And then just seeing some of the games unfold for the last couple of days. I mean, you saw the Buffalo Bills win. You saw Miami Dolphins win. Then later on today, you got the Baltimore Ravens who play. And if they win, then you got to keep that momentum going because you don't want to find yourself moving down in the rankings.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I know you and I were both pulling for the Cowboys yesterday, and ball didn't bounce in their favor. The Dolphins, of course, clinched a playoff spot. They still stay in the number 2 spot. Good thing is for the Chiefs is that one of those two teams are going to lose next week between the Ravens and the Dolphins because they play each other.
Right.
And the Chiefs will know by kickoff who wins that game because that game takes place before the Chiefs. And again, for the Chiefs, they need to win out to at least if they win out, they'll have an outside shot of the number 2 seed. And that's because it depends on what happens with the Ravens Niners game tonight. If the Ravens lose, that puts them in Miami in a tie.
They had tiebreaker.
Yeah, and they'll still be one game ahead of the Chiefs. But the winner or the loser of that game, if the Chiefs can win out, will at least fall to number 3, and the Chiefs will move up to number 2, and then whatever happens, now. Yeah. It's a lot at play. Miami needs to basically lose the last 2 games, which the Ravens need to lose 2 games as well. So it's kind of crazy how. No, I'm sorry. Dolphins don't have to lose 1 game, and the Chiefs need to win out, and Baltimore needs to lose.
But you know what? The crazy thing is, this is what we talked about 3 or 4 weeks ago when we said the Chiefs don't want to be in this position where they're dependent upon someone else.
We always talked about that
winning and losing. Yeah,
where they should have just if they did their job, we wouldn't be talking about the jobs that other people need to do. Looking at this game, Steve, last time these two teams played, Raiders, as I mentioned before, exploded for 14 points to start the game off. The Chiefs, to me, played their most complete game after that. Patrick Mahomes, sat in the pocket, was able to pretty much focus on 5 receivers for that game. I know seven caught catches, but 5 really contributed in that game. And to me, he played like his most complete game. I think he passed for 298 yards, had 2 or 3 touchdowns in that game, and I mean just played an outstanding game. That offense looked like it was going to start clicking until Green Bay the following week. When you look at this particular game and this matchup, not only these two teams know each other. We know Max Crosby is going to be playing in today's game. Not sure what the status is of Josh Jacobs. I didn't see his name on any bet sites this morning, but I'm presuming he's probably going to play unless he's out with an injury. But give me your thoughts on some of the individual matchups that we should watch out for today.
I mean, of course, just looking at the Raiders first with their defense, you got to look at the defensive line led by Max Crosby. He always gives Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense fits, right? I mean, he's just a force to be reckoned with, and I feel like he's the guy that you always have. You always have to know where he is on your offensive line. He lines up on any side, picks his matchups. So it's gonna be a long day for the Chiefs offensive line. I can't say that. But the thing that I think about this Chiefs offense and defense, they don't want to start, down 14.
Right. Oh, definitely.
I feel like this Raiders team is a team where they can control the tempo with their running game. I mean, you look at it last week, a lot of people made a big deal about them, scoring 63 points against the Chargers. But the week before that, they had a donut in the points column. So that being said, you really don't know what Raiders team you're going to get today. Granted, it's a game with a lot of implications, but you don't know which one you're going to get.
You bring up a good point, and we talked about how they scored 0 and 63. going into halftime, I remember last week Antonio Pierce was asked about what his message is going to be to his players, and it could have been coming out of. He said basically keep the foot on the gas pedal, and if that means run the score. I like that mentality, which is what we've always said that Andy Reid should have here with this Chiefs offense. If they're that potent, hey, you just got to keep scoring because you don't want to be in a situation where, look, we've seen yesterday, last night, New England was up 23-9, I believe, over Denver. And Denver came back, and then, the game got down to the wire before New England walked off with a field goal. So, and then you look at the you look at the Miami and Cowboys game. I mean, you don't want to be in a situation where you have a lead. Green Bay and Carolina. Green Bay had a big lead over Carolina.
22-point lead, right?
Yeah. And then the game ended up going to overtime. They lost, they won 33-30. But you don't want to put yourself in a situation where if you can score, continue to try to score at will. And I do like that mentality coming from Antonio Pierce, where I wish Andy would kind of adopt. But when you talk about that particular matchup, I'm looking at on the other side. We talked about how well the defense has been playing Spagnuolo's defense. I want to see if the G.E.H.A can have two games like he had against have a second game of the season like he had in the first game against Devontae Adams. Now, granted, the first quarter, Devontae Adams had 4 catches, I think 63 yards, but 60 yards. But then the remaining 3 quarters, you only had 1 catch for 13 yards. So I'm interested to see how they play, if they play any different being here. I know last year when the Raiders played here, Devontae Adams had 3 catches, 126 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. And you mentioned there's just a difference between first half and second half. Yeah. And I want to highlight that for a second and, ask you just about Spags and his being able to adjust. I mean, you think about the past, 3 out of 4 weeks, the past 4 weeks, you start down 14 points.
Right.
And so you don't want to get into that situation where you're down 14 because, like I said, the Raiders can control the tempo. And this is a different Raiders team that we've seen early on in the season. Well, go back a few weeks, week 12. But do you feel like this Raiders team, can come in here and control that tempo today? I guess I want to ask you that.
If the Chiefs' offense get off to a slow start, now you got to remember, 2 of the games that they got down 14-0 was because I think the other team had the ball first. Now, I remember the first Buffalo, when Buffalo went up 14-0, the Chiefs had the ball first. Patrick was home. Patrick had the interception. And granted, the defense came out and kept them out, but the offense couldn't get clicking. Yeah. And so after a while, and then they also was working with a short field position. Right. So they were to get on the board. I think if you're Spags' defense, the one thing that I've noticed that he's been able to do is, as you said, he didn't even wait till halftime. He adjusts in real time. Now, again, they're kind of put in a delicate situation because if the offense isn't scoring, you can only do, and then depending on if there's a turnover or whatever, you have to adjust to your field position as well. So, I mean, I'm not sure that answers your question, but he does. I mean, he has been able to adjust accordingly to the team. But again, I think it's going to be vitally important that the offense gets off to at least a quick start. Yes, can Las Vegas come in and control if they can get on board first, or just depending on who's running the football, if Jacobs is playing today, they can control the game on the ground, and the field should be a perfect condition because they had the tarp down.
Oh, of course.
So they should be fine as it relates to foot and stuff like that. So if that's the case, I think it's going to be important that they get the Raiders offense, 3 and out as much as possible.
Yeah, and not only that, but I feel like Devontae Adams, of course, he's going to get his. But it's the others, and we talk about just the other players that Spags has been said to take away the best option, which is Devontae Adams. Can you continue to do that? I feel like the G.E.H.A can.
He can, and here's the thing. Aiden O'Connell has actually played well. Obviously, you look at the Vikings game where it was a 3-0 game that they lost, but I think he had 5 touchdowns in last week's game against the Chargers. Look, we can poo-poo the Chargers and how they're looking without Justin Herbert, but that's still a defense out there that's getting paid to stop the offense. And so the fact that they've been able to put up points and minus the Vikings game, they have been, O'Connell as a rookie quarterback has been able to move the ball up and down the field, and he has been spreading the ball around to kind of, not to say alleviate the pressure because Devontae Adams wants that pressure. He wants the football.
Oh, yeah.
But getting Hunter Renfro and I'm sorry, Hunter Renfro along with Jacoby Myers.
It's too many Hunters.
Yeah,
Hunter last week, Hunter, yeah.
And so but the fact that he's getting all them involved again, it makes it more important. How we always talk about our X factors. To me, it makes it more important for Chris Jones on our defensive line and George Karlaftis to get pressure onto Aiden O'Connell. Again, as a rookie quarterback, Spack should be able to draw some stuff that'll kind of get him confused and hopefully, force him into some rookie mistakes.
I agree. And just hearing Chris Jones speak earlier this week, I had a chance to ask him about George Karlaftis. Last year, he had 6 sacks going at the end of the season. This year, he has 9 already.
Yeah.
And Chris said that he should have had 10. He should be definitely at 10 sacks, and I believe Chris was asked about what did he get the chief defensive line or defensive guys for Christmas, and he said, well, I haven't got to 10 sacks. But when I get to 10 sacks, I'll get them Rolexes. Yeah. So I think no matter what, that statement there lets me know that he is worried about his number and where he is on that, because of his incentives. Yeah. So I feel like he wants to get to 10 sacks today.
Well, I think he does too. And I think I don't know where he's sitting at for the season. But I do believe I believe he can at least get one today. And Junior, you don't like to hear players talk about individual stuff, but
yes, you do.
No. But I said Junior. But what I'm saying is that I don't have a problem with it because if that's a motivating factor,
that's what I'm saying,
and you putting it out there, and look, here's the thing too. We've seen players talk about this stuff to where it I think for the most part, it affects the team positively, at least in your position group or on your side of the ball, because they want to get you the ball or they want to put you in a scenario to help you reach those goals.
7.5 sacks so far.
7.5. Yeah. Well, I remember he wanted to get 2.5 sacks the last game of 2020 season. So this is a good game to where there's going to be a lot of passing in this game. I believe so, and I believe if the Chiefs get in the lead, that'll force them to throw the football, which will give him opportunities to get after the quarterback. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say Chris has 1.5 sacks today. So at least he'll get to 9 and give him a couple of games to get to that 10th one.
Here's the thing about this Chiefs defense as well. On top of what you said, they have to create turnovers. Yeah, and they have to be able to come away with the football when they create those turnovers. So to get the offense points and to get the offense back the ball, because this Chiefs offense hasn't really had that many opportunities if you think about it. They start the game and whether it's punt,
they've had opportunity, just haven't put the ball in the end zone.
Yeah, and once the offense gets the ball, they have to get the ball into the end zone. You got to come away with something, whether it's 3 or whether it's 6. You have to make sure that you either score a touchdown or get a field goal.
If you're in the red zone with this Chiefs team, you have to come away with a touchdown.
But here's the thing: the red zone has been an issue for the past 3 seasons.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why you have to come away with a touchdown.
Why do you feel that is? Because we see teams that are getting the red zone, and it's money.
But here's the thing: because if you come away with only 3, the other team goes down and gets 7. Yeah. That puts you at a deficit already. Yeah. So and when you got Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, you really don't have an excuse why you're not coming away with 7. Look, man,
but the problem
we're in the
is,
age of no excuses.
The problem is on that. It seemed like Patrick is glass to Coach Reed. Think about it.
What do you mean?
They treat him as if he's like fine china. And the injury, I feel like the Denver thing is the worst thing that could have happened to him when he hurt his knee.
So now he doesn't want to get. I get that part, but
my point. But they get into the red zone. Sometimes they need short yardage, and they mess it up. They want that trickery. Yeah, you give your running back the ball. Give your running back the football and let him pound it in. That's what you got to do.
No, I don't disagree with that, but again. You got Patrick, and you allow Patrick to change the call at the line. So a lot of times that can be on Patrick as well, because he has the option to, any type of RPO he wants to. And if he sees something, he is allowed to change the calls.
Yeah. Well, maybe he likes the trickery.
Yeah.
Because you get to the point, I mean, and it worked. Granted, it works, but what happens when it doesn't? Like last week where you had Jerick McKinnon who threw the touchdown pass to Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
Right? Why are you taking the ball out of 15's hands? It just, to me, doesn't make sense. If it works, it's like, but, and I don't want to be like, oh, get off my line, but still.
You come over to my side.
We still, because 9 times out of 10, sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't.
Hold on. We got to pause the show for a second, because this is a major breakthrough. Because for the last 3-4 years, they always talk about me. They tell me get off my line. He finally come over to the dark side now. Now you got to start scoring some major points.
But you don't have those. You don't have those players that you've had, and the playmate, the dogs.
That's fair.
When you got them dogs, that doesn't matter, like, because you have so many people you got to watch out for. Now it's like, oh, are they going to do the little shovel pass from Patrick to Travis, or are they going to do the QB sneak to the tight end? I mean, there's so many things that are on film that you see, and it's like, oh, they're going to do that. Some kind of trickery is coming.
I can't disagree with that.
But shout out to Andy though, because I believe that play that they did last week with McKinnon and Rashee Rice was a 19-20 Yale play.
Oh,
and he gets in his bag, but still.
Well, at least they won that game. I mean, I wish you'd have pulled it out. It all counts. It all counts. Now, speaking of Andy, speaking of the play calling, I do have to ask: are they able to design? Now, look. We know we've had the conversation throughout the season about the wide receivers and the drop passes and stuff like that. And we've even talked to Mahomes, whether the press, well, I guess most of the home time we talked to him, I guess he's in the presses. But when we talked to him, we asked him about his trust and trusting the receivers. Now, I get that, and it is what he says. But when I look at the stat sheet, it says something different. So, like, for example, I've asked him before about his connection with MVS. He says he's, the same page, blah, 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 blah. But then when I see him come out of these games, he's got 1-2 targets, 1-2 receptions. It's kind of hard for me to say that you're trusting in some of these receivers when the targets and the attempts aren't there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. However, you just look at MVS stats the past. Let's go back to 2018. 38 receptions.
Not that my guy had it ready.
Yeah, 38 receptions, 581 yards, 2 touchdowns on the season. Go back to 2019, 26 receptions, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns on the season. Like, these are numbers.
Hold on. But don't leave out context, though.
Yeah.
Who was the receiver on the opposite side?
You got Devontae Adams, right?
But we don't have a Devontae Adams on this team.
But still, here's the thing.
Hold on. Seriously. Pull up Devontae Adams' stats into those years, because those two that you talked about, the yards and the amount of completions. Now, if you pull up his stats, you'll see, like, he probably had 3 times as many.
Listen to this. My point, though, Green Bay didn't have a Travis Kelce. I would consider Travis Kelce Devontae Adams.
I would.
So that would make Devontae Adams the Kelce number 1, and then MVS 2. That
part I believe is true, but Aaron Rodgers also had Dobbs. I mean, he had 3 for the receivers too. So, if I remember correctly, he was not the number 2 receiver in Green Bay.
Yeah.
So again,
either way,
I get that, but I also want to be fair to MVS.
Yeah.
When we're talking about what his production stuff, because again, he wasn't the number 2. He might have been number 2 receiver thing maybe his last year there, but before then he wasn't. And Devontae Adams, because Devontae Adams, his numbers is what got Aaron Rodgers those MVPs.
Oh, of course.
So what I'm saying is that he comes here. He wasn't looked at to be the number 1 receiver last year, and granted, no one was. I guess it essentially fell on Travis Kelce, but because you had a Juju on the other side, and they were healthy and they were being productive, along with some of the other players. That's one thing. This year, though, I think even though the mindset was to try to move Kadarius Toney to the number 1 thing, you still looked at the salary of him being the most experienced veteran in the wide receiver room, that he would kind of take up the sword and be the number 1 receiver, even if he wasn't in what you're trying to say he's going to be the number 1 receiver. You still had that salary issue. And the thing is, for Chiefs or anyone else, you got to be able to justify it. And for me, it's hard because when we're in the locker room post game, whether win or lose, it's hard for me to go over and talk to him. And he's like the sixth highest paid player on the team, number one in the wide receiver room, but he's only got one catch because he only had one or two targets in the game. And now, and talking to him last week while we were in New England, he's the first to say that, look, man, obviously as a competitor, I want to get more targets, I want to get more catches, but we're winning, and this is the role that they want me to play. This is the role I'm going to have to play.
But here's the thing, though. Even if it's the role that they want you to play, you still are far below your highest, your lowest receiving season, which was 2019.
No, I get that, but again, a lot of that's still on Mahomes getting. Look,
and some of those catches you've got to make as a pro. And as granted, you getting your opportunity.
Against Philadelphia, he had to make.
Hold on, Darren. You getting your opportunity, and it seems like you're not putting forth the effort in your opportunity because minimal effort is what we see a lot of these wide receivers around the league. Now, you can say yay or nay, but minimal effort is what a lot of these receivers give, and it's much better on the statistical end than what MVS does.
The flip side of that, Mahomes don't throw him the ball that much that by the time he throws, he's like, oh, it's coming to me. Okay, well, let me get it now. So, no, I'm with you.
But we've seen other receivers the same way. I mean, we can go back to Demarcus Robinson. He wasn't the number one.
He was the number one for one game. And he did well against Oakland. Any other time he would catch the football, he went in another direction.
Wasn't the number one.
McCole was not, at least for one game.
Exactly. Juju wasn't the number one.
Well, Juju was the number one wide receiver, but he wasn't the number one.
He wasn't number one wide receiver that last season.
It was him last season.
Man,
it was in the starting lineup. It was him. It was McCole, and it was MVS.
I would say McCole would have been that. Just because of what he did the prior years.
McCole would have been number one. McCole would have been number one as it relates to veteran, being longer than the player. But when it came to production, it was Juju.
So who do we put the blame on? Is it MVS or is it Patrick? Since we're talking receivers, and we don't even have to look at MVS as just an individual, an outlier. Who do we put it on?
I say it's a play caller. Because because at the end of the day, you still have to design the play or put some calls out to get to him. Because again. If we're going to lay blame, yes, I will lay more blame on MVS for not making set plays. But we have seen games. We saw just like we've seen each and every week. Patrick has thrown the ball into the ground, into the dirt from time to time, either behind the receivers. Now we look at the one with Kadarius Toney that you got all the hoopla last week. That was something he should have caught a stride and been able to. Most of the time, we have not seen Mahomes throw pass like that. They've been behind him where players to turn around, stop in their tracks and try to catch the ball, or he's well overthrown. I mean, it's not too many passes we've seen Mahomes throw where a receiver can catch the ball in traffic and keep off and running.
So we saying he has to be perfect.
Who?
Patrick. For these receivers to catch the ball.
No, I'm not saying it's be perfect.
There's plenty of quarterbacks that are perfect.
I'm not saying it's be perfect, but he's got to put it in the window to where my thing is. Put it where the receivers can catch it in stride. I mean, that's we saw Joe Flacco yesterday, tight end throw to Njoku, your guy, the tight end for Cleveland. First of all, he was covered to a T, and if you remember the pass, he threw it over the receiver. It was a touchdown, and he caught it where only he could catch it. No, so I'm saying we've got a guy, two-time Super Bowl MVP, two-time league MVP. He's got to be a lot more deadly accurate with his passing as well.
I feel like he's. If I give Patrick a grade on his,
we saw last week Travis Kelce dropped that touchdown pass, but Travis Kelce had to jump damn near 13 feet in the air to try to catch it.
But I mean that was the only place that he could put the ball.
He could have put it 12 feet.
If I could give Patrick a grade on just his accuracy this season, I would say B minus. I was gonna say B. I was just gonna say flat out B.
I give him a B minus.
I was gonna say B. Now, granted, like I said, you got a lot of guys around these. You're an NFL player, man. You're supposed to make catches that the normal. I couldn't go out there and make.
I agree, but look, I'll put it like this: we saw and we've marveled how C.J. Stroud, before he got hurt, with players that we barely remember, Robert Woods being an exception, but Nico Collins, Tank Dell, he's throwing these cats open left and right and hitting them on dots.
Because he doesn't know better. You don't know what you don't know.
Well, hold on. He knows as a quarterback to throw the ball to the receiver and throw him open or put him in. And so, again, for me, I'm not asking too much for Pat to be accurate or a little bit more accurate. I'm not asking for too much for the receiver to catch the football if the ball is if it's in your radius.
Okay, I agree.
Radius. Now, let's look at the defense side of football. I know we spent a lot of time. And actually, before we go to, we'll look at the offense. What do you expect from our offensive line? Because I know last week they kind of had a little bit more problems with the outside. Do want to get your thoughts on Wanye Morris, rookie on the left tackle side. I know Donovan Smith is out again with the neck injury, but Jawan Taylor, I think he's had a couple of those calls again on the right side. So give me your thoughts on the offensive line.
I said they need to play a penalty-free ball game. I mean, you can't just look on the bookends. I mean, Creed's had some issues.
Yeah.
Trey Smith has. So you can't.
Only one that hasn't been Tooney.
Yeah, you can't just look on the bookends. You can look inside as well. So the offensive line as a whole they got to clean up some things that Andy Reid talked about that weeks ago about them. We've got to clean up some stuff. Yes, you've been cleaning it up all year. So I just feel like saying it. Yeah. So I just feel like if you can play a mistake-free ball game, that's all you can ask for. And if you singling out Wanye,
I'm asking how you think he does.
Yeah,
just stepped up.
Just singling him out, I would say he's done okay. I mean, he hasn't jumped off the page, which I mean, granted, you're looking like he has, but I think to me he hasn't really jumped off the page to me.
No, I haven't looking. No,
he's been solid, but he hasn't jumped off the page. I was looking
at the fact that I don't think he's given up too many sacks, if at all. So I'm saying, compared to what we've seen and the fact that he's a rookie this late in the season, I thought he's been playing pretty well.
I'm sorry, we saw rookies come in here and dominate, and from the offensive line part, looking at Creed, looking at Trey Smith, those guys. But they've still been dominant.
Yeah,
because I mean, we see Chris Jones go up against inside. He picks his inside, and he's able to dominate. Of course, they haven't gone up against anybody like that, but still, we've seen those guys dominate in their rookie campaign.
Well, we'll get a chance to see him today.
We will
against Crosby next week. I mean, against I think T.J. Hendrickson, and then following week we'll see what he does against Khalil Mack. On the defensive side of the football for the Chiefs, again, we're looking at this offensively. What are you expecting from them on defense today?
And the defensive line just has to play solid. Defense as a whole has come up with turnovers. I feel like the linebackers, I mean, we're just talking to Willie Gay after the game last week. He talked about having everybody back. Drew Tranquil, himself, Nick Bowden. That last week was the first game in a long time where all of them were back and healthy. And I can't say healthy, relative, right? Like, because everyone's battling something, but I just feel like the linebackers are going to be able to have to stop their running game. We see the Raiders week in and week out, at least the past couple of weeks, that they have gone to the running game and they've talked about it week in and week out. They're going to be committed to it. So it's tough for teams because we talk about the Chiefs all the time and their offense, like they can't commit to the run. No matter come hell or high water, you're going to throw the ball, right? So it's tough for teams to commit to the run, and the Raiders have done that. So I feel like the linebacker crew is going to be crucial today.
But that's an identity for the Raiders, though. That is a little bit, with Josh Jacobs and taking after the head coach, and and he knows he knows.
But not when you got a dog on the wide receiver side.
No. But again, I mean, guy was all pro last year too. So I'm saying, so he got dogs at both levels. So the thing is, he knows to put the ball in his playmakers' hands, which is Jacobs and Adams. X factor for you today in this ball game on the offensive side of football
for the Chiefs. Hang on, I know we was going that way. I'm gonna go with the running back. I'm gonna go with Pacheco. Yeah, just because we 2 surgeries. We've talked about it off camera. 2 surgeries, 1 season. I just don't know where his mental is with that. He just had surgery 2 weeks ago. Had a week off. Now he's going to have to come and he's preparing for the long stretch at the end of the season. So I feel like it's going to have to be the running back. How about yourself?
Honestly, we're going back to what I did last week. It's got to be Travis Kelce, man. Travis Kelce, we
didn't talk about him.
Huh?
I said we didn't talk about him.
Yeah, and the reason why I say him, he's been in a little funk lately. And I'm not saying, last week he had 5 catches, I believe, and dropped a couple of touchdown passes. And, he's this whole thing with, with Taylor Swift and stuff, whether or not that, and I don't think that's been affecting, but I think one thing that we talked about is kind of the frustration in that here you are trying to at least play well, but you're getting double and triple team, and it's different if your other teammates are making plays, extending drives and stuff like that, to where the defense can ease up off of you, kind of focus on them, and then boom, you can hit them for a couple of catches and maybe a touchdown. But because they haven't really stepped up outside of Rasheed Rice, it's been kind of hard for him to really get going. And so this is last time they played here at Arrowhead last year, he cost me a lot of money, but he did have 4 touchdowns on 25 yards pass. That's a bad beat that's gonna live.
Real quick. I feel like today Travis Kelce is gonna be the go-to, because of course he has about 940 some yards to 8 consecutive 1,000-yard game. Christmas Day, what better day to do it?
Yeah, so I think he has a big day. I think he does get into the end zone today, and I think the Chiefs.
Let's hope he gets into the end zone. My FanDuel is.
I said earlier from that one. I'm just saying, I did get him for the yardage. Yeah. I figured he should be able to get that. Defensively, who's your X factor?
I'll go with the same one I went with last week. Linebackers. I feel like they're Nick Bolton and Willie Gay and company, Drew Tranquil. They're going to be key. I was going to go with corners, which I feel like you're going to go with the corners, but I feel like it's going to be linebackers today for me.
No, because I'm going the same thing I did last week, which is the defensive line.
Okay.
And because again, which ended up happening, they put pressure on the quarterback. Rookie quarterback they did last week, rookie quarterback this week.
Yeah.
I think you open it up for one of the D-backs to come blitz and get a sack like they did last week.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going. I'm going with the defensive line again. Okay. Before we get out of here, Steve, I know G.E.H.A Barbecue is closed today, but they'll be back open tomorrow. We want to thank our sponsors. G.E.H.A Barbecue, of course, located 5 locations around the metro area. They have lowered their prices on the ribs this holiday season, along with big old turkey drum legs as well. So make sure you stop by to the sweet potato pie.
Until 31st. You got until 31st. Go get one.
Get it all. So, and next Sunday we'll be right back here, 2:25 for our pregame show, pregame cheat sheet, as we get you prepared for the Chiefs and the Bengals. That's going to be a national game on the CBS window late afternoon. Steve, we'll talk about who styled you today.
My friends over at Dillard's on the Road, so make sure you go check them out. You still got some time to go get your New Year's Eve fit, get set. If you're going out, they're going to have some New Year's deals. Make sure you go check them out. Talk to my friends over at Dillard's on the Road.
And I want to thank Todd's Clothiers and Taylor Suits. I got it right this week. Todd's Clothiers and Taylor Suits, located 2 locations, one on 21st and Broadway, the other inside the War Parkway Mall. I want to thank him, of course, for styling for the last 5 seasons. And, of course, we expect to do this all the way through the Super Bowl. So make sure you stop out there. Got the holiday specials going on as well. I'd like to remind you all, follow Steve and I on social media. You can follow Steve at Steve Walls KC. You can follow me at Darren Smith NFL on all the social media platforms. Post-game, we'll bring you interviews. We'll bring you the press conference with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and other players who stand out in today's game. And then we'll also bring you our post-game show. Weather permitting, we'll bring you our post-game show as well. But again, on behalf of Steve and the pregame cheat sheet, we'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. And make sure you join us tomorrow. Correct, Steve? Tomorrow for
Wednesday. Yeah, real quick, give my son Peyton a birthday shout out. He turns 12 tomorrow, so Peyton, happy birthday.
Yes, we have a birthday party. Happy birthday, Pete Dove, little nephew. We'll enjoy your party tomorrow, and join us on Wednesday, 6:30, for the Red Hour. Myself, Steve Walls, DJ Q, and Sean Tyler, as we recap today's game, and we'll get you ready for next Sunday's national game against the Cincinnati Bengals right here at Arrowhead Stadium. So, Steve Walls, I'm Darren Smith. Thank you so very much. We are out of here. Merry Christmas.
Football fans, you can't spell gate without Gates, and great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors. Classic, sweet and mild, mild and hot. Find it at your local grocer, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings.